This gets me going, this stuff. I love this stuff. Without further ado, the Dirty Daddy himself, once he accepts, wow. What do you think, Chris?
I like Rick James.
Well, it's not bad, right?
Oh yeah, that's a great song. How you doing?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm hanging in there. I'm chilling. I actually I moved back to New York City back in September, so I
really?
am in New York.
Okay, and you were in Staten Island.
I think Kingston lives in Staten Island. I think Kingston lives in Florida.
I think he was mentioning that to me.
Yeah, and D is in Philadelphia, I think, or down somewhere over there.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's great that you bring that up because, you're right back to where you started, and that's where I want to begin. Talk to me about where it began for you. Who was the major players in influencing you and getting you off the ground?
In pro wrestling, it was probably 2001. I was 15 years old, 14, and I started going to indie shows, and I went to Jersey All Pro Wrestling.
Hell yeah.
And Jersey All Pro Wrestling had a wrestling school, and I knew a kid that I backyard wrestled with that went to the wrestling school, so I got him to take me. And the guy who originally trained me, his name is Magic. He was kind of like a fixture here in the Northeast, and he helped get a lot of guys started. And he was like the head trainer at the Jersey All Pro Wrestling School, and he taught me like fundamental pro wrestling.
And, you keep bringing it up here, Jersey All Pro Wrestling. I think a lot of people may not even be familiar with just the amount of influence that promotion has on the American independent scene. Why don't you talk about what that promotion meant to you as a kid and what it meant for so many wrestlers?
Yeah, I mean, Jersey All Pro Wrestling was, I guess, kind of like what ECW was after ECW was kind of gone. Jersey All Pro Wrestling was what Ring of Honor became before Ring of Honor was Ring of Honor.
Right.
Ring of Honor basically took everything that Jersey All Pro Wrestling was doing and just used the Texas Wrestling Academy guys like Brian Danielson and Kendrick and Paul London and those guys. And they obviously did their own thing and were successful. But basically, Jersey All Pro was kind of like the original super indie that was kind of like doing stuff, especially here in the Northeast. They were like the big one.
Well, you know what? Whenever I think of you, as far back as I can remember, and I think I probably met you about 6-7 years ago in Ottawa when I got going, you've always been unabashedly yourself. How did you go about discovering exactly who that was and bringing that to your in-ring persona?
Well, I mean, I guess it goes back to Jersey All Pro Wrestling. I had a rough go the first couple of years. Like I was making a name for myself. It was not easy breaking into wrestling when I did, especially where I did. Nowadays, people have it a lot easier getting into the business. It's not that difficult as far as like I guess in like a social way, and I guess like physically too. Back then, like the people I came up around, it was just a lot more of like a almost kind of like a crazy hazing, bullying. You
Right.
really had to prove yourself. You had to
really previous generation.
It was like you had to really earn it to be involved. And I think a lot of those guys dealing with a lot of the assholes from the time who were just being jerks. I think that kind of created like a little bit of a monster in me. And as I started growing up, I started like hitting the weights and I started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I started beating the shit out of everybody else. And I started realizing like, well, I know how to hit people and I'm getting bigger than everybody else. I said, all these guys are just full of shit. I'm just going to start whooping everybody's ass. That's
it.
That's really how it is. So I kind of like built it up almost as a defense mechanism.
So it comes out of almost like breeding from a sense of necessity. You talk about the guys you came up with. Of course, a lot of mutual friends of ours, Team Pazuzu. Talk to everybody about what Team Pazuzu means to you and just what the hell Team Pazuzu is.
Well, those guys came, honestly, way after. I was already at it for a while. Well, Pinky was around, and Jocka started training around the same time I did, but he didn't really like follow through with it or really get like as involved until after.
You had to whip his ass a bit, get him going.
We were friends in high school, and like we backyard wrestled together. We went to karate together. So,
what was your backyard wrestling persona?
Oh, basically almost exactly the same as I am now.
Same name too?
No. My name was Paco Locos,
Yes, Paco
but
Loco.
but like
So good.
I wore like my karate gi pants, and I just like just did the same stuff basically. I kicked and I chopped and
You found
I
a way to be badass backyard wrestling.
I just basically have been trying for the last like basically like 20 years to build up who I am, get to who I actually am now, pretty much.
And that's a great question. Who are you now?
I'd like to. Me, I'm a professional wrestler, you know,
Hell yeah.
and all of this stuff now that we can't wrestle and we have to take all these other measures in order to stay connected with our fans. It's like I mean I appreciate social media and I think it's cool and everything, but the not actually just being able to wrestle and perform part is killing me, you know.
Right.
I'm a wrestler, like I'm a professional wrestler. I mean, I appreciate where the business is and what it's evolved into, but when it comes down to it, like I'm all about like getting in the ring, and that's where I like to tell my stories, and that's where I like to get it done. I'm not like super flashy. I kind of I do have like a loud mouth, and I talk a lot of shit, but for the most part, I just like to wrestle. That's it.
And so you talk about taking the time off now. Outside of, say, the actual in-ring work itself, what do you miss most about the lifestyle?
I definitely miss traveling. I was traveling so much the last year, especially the last couple of months before all this. I'm traveling, almost pretty much every week at this point, and you get used to it. I know you went to Japan. I went to
Oh
Japan.
yeah.
I got to go.
Congratulations, by the way.
I got to go to Mexico. I got to go. I got to travel to the West Coast like so many times the last year. I've been blessed, truly lucky and fortunate to be able to get out there, and I miss just being out there in front of different fans, making new fans. I miss the boys. I miss the
Hell
boys
yeah.
and the girls too. Honestly, I miss everybody because you start to realize somebody like Nick Gage, right? Like I see someone like Nick Gage more than I see someone in my own family
Hell yeah.
because we are constantly working together on shows
Yeah.
together. So it's like I'm just realizing like I'm not seeing anybody. I'm not going to see anybody for a while. It is kind of sad. So I do miss the people, and I just miss I miss the traveling. I usually dread it and I hate flying and all that stuff. But I would give anything to be going somewhere right now.
Well, you talk about new fans just a moment ago. What are some new goals and new things that you look forward to, in a post-COVID world? What do you want to do in the ring still?
Well, I'm not. I said this to my family, my mom actually earlier, and I can't lose sight of my goals. I had goals, and I had very very specific goals planned, and they were all basically being carried out. I was doing everything I had to do and taking all the necessary steps in order to accomplish my goals. And I'm not losing sight of that. I'm obviously trying. I'm trying to wrestle in Japan full time. That's my number one goal
Hell yeah. Good for
is to
you.
wrestle in Japan full time, and I'm going to do what I have to do, and just hopefully the world can get back to where it was at. Do I really think it will exactly? Probably not. I think there's going to be some changes that are going to be made that are going to affect obviously our business, but I have to just adapt and I have to try my best. It's because the more you can constantly think about these things you can't control, it's the definition of insanity. You're going to keep going around in circles
That's
and you're
it.
going to drive yourself crazy because there's nothing we can do about it right now.
Well, you
So,
said the word there, adapt. I think that's key to survival right there. What's some final thoughts you maybe want to leave your fans with, maybe some well wishes or even just things they can keep up with you on while they're in quarantine?
um, this is like something I think I want to start like really getting around and using it on a show like this. I think people just need to be positive. I see
Oh, yeah.
wrestlers sharing stuff basically like kind of like giving up, throwing in the towel, like dreading that the business is over or
Sure.
things are gone or things whatever. Listen, if you were having a bad time before this happened and you're miserable about wrestling, you're miserable about wrestling, period. But the fact is the business is going to come back and everything is going to come back. It may not be exactly the way it was, but it is going to come back. And to be honest with you, just be positive and look forward to it when it does, and just keep supporting us. Your positivity really does mean a lot. I mean, I've never felt more support now that I'm actually not wrestling than I did when I was. And the fans have been so positive and been so supportive, and everybody who follows me and what I do, I really, really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all again. It's maybe a little bit longer and maybe a lot longer, but I really do genuinely love you all because of you guys. You
Beautiful.
know, I'm an American, and what I feel like I do is I live the American dream. I live my life on my own terms. I go out and
Hell
make my
yeah.
own money, and I do it my way. And right now, our rights have kind of like been stripped away from us, and we're not allowed to do that because we have to, basically sit back and go with the flow here so that we could all help each other out.
That's
So
it.
please, when the time comes, if you have the means, like, please support us and continue to support us.
Well, Chris, beautifully said. It sounds great. You sound like you're in a great place. Congratulations, dude. Please keep taking care of yourself, and thanks for coming to talk with us today, bro.
Thank you, man. It was good seeing you.
Take care, Chris.
Peace out.
That was the Dirty Daddy, Chris Dickinson. He sounds and looks great. It's great to hear from him. We're going to try to jump right into Eddie now. Of course, before I bring him in, I'm going to try to cue up a little tune here for him.